I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is On the Other Side of Things, the Smith & Sniff spin-off in which we answer your questions. Here we are then, answering questions once more, and I would like to kick off with one which has an interesting twist to it. This is from a listener, one of our many listeners in the Netherlands. We do get a lot of messages from the Netherlands, which is great. Hi.
It's one of my favourite countries, Rich.
Well, I know. This one is from a listener called Bart Haxer.
Hi, Bart.
I'm reasonably confident I haven't mangled the pronunciation of that, but who knows? Bart, the reason this has a twist is because Bart added a PS to his message that said, I will send the same question to your colleagues at the Intercooler podcast. So the battle to answer the question first is on.
Okay, right, no pressure.
Well, I like those odds because, yes, Dan and Andrew are doing a midweek Q&A show for their subscribers, so I guess it could prop up on that, but I haven't heard it on there yet. So the question is, Bart says in episode 9 of Chris Harrison Friends, which I think is a car podcast, they discussed examples of mechanical empathy. They thought that holding the car still on a hill using a slipping clutch was an example of such, same as engaging the handbrake with the button pushed in so it doesn't make the ratcheting sound. I don't agree with either. I think holding the car still while slipping the clutch is a bad habit. It's adding unnecessary wear and tear to the whole clutch mechanism, possibly even overheating it. Same with the ratcheting thing. It's made for that, so it shouldn't harm anything engaging the handbrake without pushing the release button. What is your view on this? And what is the best example of mechanical empathy with a car?
Wow, I'm quite shocked that someone might think that holding a car on a hill by slipping the clutch is an example of mechanical sympathy. It's quite the opposite. That's what learner drivers do, and you get taught out of it.
Exactly. I listened to Chris Harrison first. I was being flippant about it being a car, but I know exactly what it is, of course, and I do listen.
We love you, Chris.
I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to keep up with everything, isn't it? But I don't. Maybe I missed episode 9. I don't ever remember hearing that. But I agree. I would be shocked if Chris Harris thought that was good practice, or for that matter, Neil Clifford is a man with many cars, and including, he loves a small manual gearbox snotter as much as some high-end supercar. You would think he is going to be absolutely against that because, as Bart says, it is bad and it does unnecessarily wear your clutch. And
you'll wear the clutch. And some clutches, I mean, if you were talking about an Italian car of a certain vintage, basically you're going to, if you do that more than 5 times in a week, the clutch is done, and the whole mechanism could cost you $5,000 or $6,000.
Have I mentioned on the podcast before a friend of my parents who, she could have been a Celica lady, actually. She was sort of quite glam. But what she actually had was a Honda CRX.
Well, that's prime Celica lady territory. That's Celica lady in waiting.
Downsized Celica lady.
Yes.
And the wedgie one, the really cool sort of late 80s.
The 12 valve. Yes.
So it was the second gen CRX, the one with sort of slightly, my favourite looking CRX, frankly, with the slightly softer edges. And that whole generation of Civic I thought was a terrific bit of design, really sort of cohesive, and yet you've got the shuttle at one end and the CRX at the other, and they all just looked really nice. But she had one of those, and she once told my mum that she always held her car on a hill just by holding the clutch midpoint, but also admitted that she used to go through a clutch sort of like every 10,000 miles or something.
I mean, what?
So it is demonstrably bad for your clutch, and you shouldn't do it.
It's appalling.
I'm almost inclined to go back and listen to that episode of Chris Harris's podcast just to see if that's what they actually said.
Unless we're hearing this wrong, and then instead of keeping it on the bite point, they're just having their foot to the floor on the clutch, ready. But I mean, why wouldn't you just put it in neutral and have your foot on the foot brake or the handbrake up? Because you're an accomplished driver. You can.
That's the thing. You don't need to do it.
You can put it into first.
You don't need to do it. You can do a hill start.
Exactly. I just don't understand. So that's a terrible idea. Ratcheting the thing up, it's more really about, I'm in agreement with Bart, it's they're making the ratchet noise doesn't mean that it's damaging anything. I suppose it's just,
no.
If you want to be smooth and silent and chauffeur-like, then you could do it, which is what my dad always used to kind of say to me. And I do kind of do that.
I think Bart is absolutely right. You're right as well. It's like the ratchet is pretty tough, and it probably will be fine. But it's not much effort to put the button in.
No.
And then yes, the smoothness.
So my best example of mechanical empathy to a car. For me, it's just a really, really simple one. It is start the car up and let it breathe for a minute. And then go. And while it's warming up and doing its thing for the first minute, because we all know this, first 20, 30 seconds is when you'll get maximum engine wear. So just start it, let it idle and catch its breath while you're putting your seatbelt on and checking your radio and your Bluetooth connection and putting your CD in if you're still in the 90s. And all those things is just let the car catch its breath, especially in colder weather. And then go for it. It's so simple, and I know it sounds a bit partridge, but at the end of the day, that is when people get in and they just immediately go, and that will wear the engine more. Not so much now with modern zero-weight oils, but certainly older cars, 100%. So that's what I do.
No, that's good.
On that side of things.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that answers your question, Bart. And I, if they haven't already, I look forward to Dan and Andrew having a crack at this one as well.
Yeah. My dad used to put his automatic car into neutral when waiting at lights because he was worried about the wear of the auto box.
Yes. I used to do that with cars, with my own cars, particularly my Rover 75, because I felt like I was taxing the brakes and the transmission by just holding it on the foot brake in D at a long light. And then I started worrying that excessive use of the gear selector was going to wear that out.
No way, seriously.
So I used to sort of alternate.
Honestly, you're
that
bad.
is quite partridge as well, I know. Okay, well, that's... I hope we've answered that a little bit, Bart. But yeah, I'll go back and listen to that episode of Monkey's podcast, because I can't believe that he would say something like that.
No, I can't either. Thanks, Bart, and thanks to all our Netherlandsy listeners. I've got a question here, which I think is pretty cool, by Thomas Falconer. Hi, you pair of old idler arms. The SUV is generally regarded by enthusiasts as uncool, and rightly so. However, in our world of radwoods and festivals of the unexceptionals, is there a case to be made for the first and second gen Toyota RAV4 3-door models? Easy to park and garage, they both strike me as fun and unpretentious addition to a fleet with the ability to be enjoyed across asphalt and also gravel. They seem to be rather unique because in 2025 there's nothing on sale similar in concept other than the 3-door Jimny, which is arguably better off-road but nowhere near as good to drive on the road. And of course, the current Jimny is commercial vehicle in the UK only. So, is the Toyota RAV4 3-door cool? Should it be celebrated as a left-field modern classic, or am I simply smoking my own gearbox oil? Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye. Tom. Well, a friend of mine who is painstakingly resurrecting my Honda Element, Paul
is that
Harding.
still going on?
Yeah, because of parts you just simply can't find in the UK. I won't bore you with it. It's turning into your Range Rover saga, but without, I don't know. He's got 2 3-door RAV4s, which he picked up for next to nothing. I think most of them were kind of OAP spec, and he just fancied them.
Yeah.
And they've got really delightfully colourful interiors. It's that era of Japanese when cloth, colourful fabric interiors were in vogue. And
yes, a lot of purples for some reason, I always think.
Purples.
And
Greens, loads of... I think one of them is actually kind of jade green. And I looked at it and kind of chuckled at first. And he said, no, but the thing is they look so dated now, but in a desirable way. And I kind of went, yeah, because this was the soft roader era when having an SUV or whatever you might call it, it didn't mean it had to be big. It was high up, good visibility, rugged, but not wide, not long. And I think most of them are side-opening back doors, aren't they, like a Jimny?
They are, yes.
With the spare wheel, hard-mounted spare wheel.
I mean, to answer Tom's question, I'm just going to go all out and say, I think they are cool. I think they're really cool, probably, if you are younger than us, because they are very 90s. Yeah. And including those sort of slightly lurid fabrics. And sometimes the graphics you could get on the outside of them and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is definite. It's Festival of the Unexceptional bait, isn't it? A Mark 1 RAV4 3-door in a very 90s colour, like the green or something.
Yeah.
Would be, would attract a crowd there. But also...
It's a good gateway drug modern classic, isn't it? That doesn't break down much.
I think, from memory, they were also surprisingly nice to drive because they were sort of... I mean, it's a relative thing, but they were one of the first SUVs that was a bit more car-like and actually was sort of surprisingly pleasant to steer, but compared to the sort of galumphing old beam axle off-roaders we were used to.
Exactly. They were. They're really predate. Do they predate the crossover because they're high up, but they're hatchback car sized. So
the Jeep Cherokee, the XJ Cherokee, sort of is probably the godfather of everything because it was monocoque. It was very small by American.
Oh, it's tiny by American standards. Yeah,
but the original RAV4 of the sort of mid-90s definitely was that was a real sort of push, and particularly outside of the US, to what we now have. So, I mean, in some ways, if you don't like SUVs and the fact that every other bloody car seems to sit tall these days, then in fact you should sneer and scoff at the RAV4. But it definitely started something, and I think they are quite cool if they're a 3-door. In fact, do you remember the soft top 3-door as well? Because the soft bit at the back just sort of didn't quite look big enough somehow. It was all a bit squashed on. The Freelander, when that came along, everything felt much more in proportion. But the soft back RAV4 looked a bit like you'd made it yourself.
Yeah. It didn't look quite right, did it? It didn't look as pro.
No. It's just something up with it. But otherwise, did they have a Targa roof on those as well?
I always get them mixed up with the Suzuki X90, which definitely wasn't as cool as a RAV4.
No.
I don't know. I'd have to look.
I thought you could have like some kind of like lift out roof or something, but they were I'm going to just say yes, cool, yes. Let's say it right now.
Let's say it, Tom. And also weird that you should mention that, Tom, because I'm a bit late to this party, but I'm watching an old Netflix documentary series called "Making a Murderer." About a chap called Stephen Avery who was wrongly convicted of various offences in Wisconsin and was imprisoned incorrectly for years, then came out and then is being sort of framed again. But anyway, for a murder he claims to have not committed and almost certainly didn't. But the person that got murdered was a lady that worked for Auto Trader that used to go around and photograph people's cars, when they used to do that? Yeah. Yeah. And she drove a RAV4, and the RAV, discovering the RAV4 that had been planted in a stack of cars in a scrapyard owned by the guy, is what led officers to claim that he did it. And
oh my God!
Yeah. It was one of these generations of RAV4, but not a 3-door. I think it was a 5-door, but it was a Gen 1. I'm sure of it. So in court, they mentioned RAV4 a lot in that documentary. So worth watching. It's long, but it's good, and it's also terrifying how people can be put away in prison for life for things that almost certainly they didn't do. Anyway, that's another story.
That's taken a turn. But yes, we've answered the question, haven't we? So that's fine. We can move on. I was going to do a quick question from Mike Jones, who says he's in Swansea. He says, "Morning, you pair of absolute strumpets." Anyway, I recently saw a sort of resto mod freight rover, or possibly a Sherpa.
Nice.
On what could have been a Land Rover chassis. Unfortunately, I was unable to get a picture. My question is, how would you resto mod a freight rover or Sherpa? Only one rule: you cannot use a Rover V8 engine. The rest is up to you. Now,
right.
I I wanted to answer this question because as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it is Freight Rover's answer to the Ford Supervan.
Oh, yes.
I know that Mike says you can't use a Rover V8 engine, but that's all right, Mike. I don't need to, because I am using the Metro 6R4 engine instead.
Oh, you naughty swine. You're rebodying a 6R4?
But essentially, yes. There may have to be a wheelbase stretch. We'll look into these things nearer the time. But yeah.
No, just shorten the Sherpa.
Short is a really
rally sport wheel. A sport Sherpa.
Well, this is the thing, because I'm thinking that it has to be, the sort of the bigger, like the Sherpa 400.
Oh, yeah.
But I suppose it could be like the original little Sherpa.
I think the really skinny one
200.
with the happy face and the big grill.
It could be the original little Sherpa. But
I'm
thinking it's mid-80s. It's sort of, it's 85, 86. Well, build it now, but to look as if that's when it was done. So it's got the blue and green sort of Austin Rover livery, but maybe it's got some computer vision livery as well to sort of reflect its 6R4 heritage.
Someone needs to render this, the Sherpa the short wheelbase sport Sherpa.
And it's incredibly, I mean, God, what is the, I won't look this up now.
Rally Sport Sherpa.
Rally Sport.
RSP. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, well, it's a short one, that, because I know immediately what I want to do, and I can duck around Mike's Rover V8 stipulation very easily. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you, please.
I always think whenever someone mentions Sherpa, I always think of a Sherpa fleece, which I obviously wear quite a lot with regards to barn finding.
Yeah.
And the Sherpa fleece, I just think, does that mean I have to be a Sherpa helmsman in order to wear a winter weight garment? But do love a Sherpa fleece. So, right, well, I'll go on to another question on that side of things. This one's from a chap called Richard Portman. Hi. You sweet, glistening flesh flutes. Oh, dear, glistening.
Wow. Okay.
So, I'm doing some heavy classifieds work comparing models of car I'm interested in buying. I wondered, when choosing a particular model, if you spot a very high mileage but relatively new / facelifted one with updated bells and whistles. For the same price, you find a much older model without those additional style updates and toys, but with extremely low mileage, both good condition cars. Which one are you pulling the trigger on, and why? Thanks, mate. Cheers, mate. Bye, Richard. With a kiss at the end. Thanks, Richard, for that. I appreciate it.
Oh.
Interesting classified work here. So there's not a wrong answer here, because I've done both, is the real world answer. But so would you go for the heavily optioned, high mileage, newer car with facelift, or older, less bells and whistles, but very, very worshipped low mileage? I'm not scared of high mileage cars, as you well know, but I think with my sort of prepper / apocalypse survivor head on, I would go for the older model with less things to go wrong, that's possibly deceased spec, which means it will just, in my head at least, last a bit longer. And I think that's why, because I'm not an option snob. I do quite like simple cars, so they tend to be more enjoyable.
Have you ever got into that situation, though, where you know that a certain thing was available on a certain car, and you find one for sale, it is perfect in almost every way, but it doesn't have that option, and you sort of find yourself thinking, oh, just that, if it had that, it would be absolutely perfect. It's stupid things that I just quite like heated seats, and they're not essential.
Oh, yeah.
If you know they were available on a car, and then you find one that hasn't got them, where most of them seem to, and you're a bit like, Well, that's when what happens is you normally find a car in great condition for the right money, but it's not got all the original prerequisites that you've got in your head. But you go, but I found it, and it ticks lots of the other boxes. So what the hell? You'll buy it. You can guarantee within 4 weeks of you buying it,
another one comes up for sale, and it's probably got the option. And I know several people that have done this, and they've gone and bought both of them. They've driven them.
Really?
Yeah, my brother's done it.
Oh, gosh.
And then he's driven both of them in tandem for a couple of weeks and then had to make the decision, to stick or twist, which one stays, which one goes. He quite likes doing it because he goes, well, I'm in control now. I own them both, so it's my decision. It's weird. I won't lie. It's weird, but I kind of get it.
I always think there is that very well-worn adage about condition, not mileage, isn't there?
Yes.
And
yeah.
It is sort of true, but with caveats, because you're right. Like, a higher mileage suggests that fundamental parts of the car have experienced more wear and therefore may need replacing sooner.
Yeah.
Just if it's depending on the car and the age and all that. It's things like wheel bearings and stuff like that.
It does.
But you just don't know, do you?
No, you don't, because cars can do a low mileage because they've lived in a city. So they've spent done a lot of shorter journeys, and they've either got so hot under the collar from sitting in standstill traffic, or they've never warmed up properly.
Yeah.
And so that has implications. So, yeah, I mean, my brother always said to me, worshipped high mileage is nothing better, because it's used to being worked hard, it's been looked after. Yeah. And my Tesla's
police cars as an interesting example, because they're constantly on the go.
Yeah.
Mega mileage, but they do get serviced regularly. And
it's true.
So you might take a punt and it could be a faithful soldier, because actually, it's been well used and well looked after.
You've got the phantom of Quentin Wilson on your shoulder as your Parisian.
Yes. White, ex-police, no sunroof. It was one of his mantras. And I also, because I have actually had this a little bit when I was browsing BMW i3s the other week, because you get caught on the spec ladder or on the evolution ladder of a model. Yeah. Because you start looking, you go, well, I'll go and find a reasonably priced one, get an early one, early looked after one, that's fine. Oh yeah, have one of those for that. Oh, but then they updated it, didn't it? And then you could have...
Had a faster charger or bigger battery.
Yeah, a faster charger. Oh, and then the bigger battery, and then you go, well, then I really want a late one, don't I? And it's like, but then they're more money, so I've got to look for a leggier one to bring the price back down. It's just that kind of equation you can get caught in.
With EVs, just buy a really high mileage one that's been looked after, that someone's bought as their own business type car, but they're not idiots and they haven't trashed it.
Particularly with modern cars, the mileage is not necessarily something to be afraid of, but it is on a case-by-case basis, isn't it? Because it's got to get a sense of how it was used, not just how much it was used. And things like, really knackered and trashed interior would be a red flag for me.
Yes.
Suggests someone who doesn't care about the car very much. So if they don't give a shit about spilling some Ribena on the passenger seat and a cigarette burn on the door card, then they probably didn't give a shit about how they used the brakes and things either, did they?
No. I think you get really good vibe about a car if you do your homework. You can decide quite early on whether this thing's had a tough life, and that doesn't just mean high mileage. It just means the miles have been tough. And totally that. I've got an Otosot here. It says, Dear Monsieur Smith and Porter, I recently drove past the offices of Mansell McTaggart. Genuinely, it's an estate agent. There's a photo of an estate agent called Mansell McTaggart. It sounds totally fictitious. It brought to mind a much mustachioed 1992 F1 champion solving crimes with a dour Scottish detective in a red Testarossa. So my question to you, sweet guys, is this. What motoring-related pairings would you want investigating if you were the victim of crime? And what car would they drive and why? CMTMB, David. Oh, P.S. As a former special constable, our Nigel would probably be very good at solving actual crimes.
That's true, yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So, do we have to pick a motoring person and a TV detective to pair together, or can we just do like two motoring people?
I think we can do whatever we like, Rich. I think your brain's good enough to piece either of those together on that side of things. I'm still thinking about Mansell McTaggart, personally.
Yes. Wasn't the TV show was just Taggart, though, wasn't it? Well,
it was Taggart.
But it was, yeah.
And Taggart has, in my head, the theme tune to Taggart and the theme tune to Top Gear have something in common in that the more you listen to them, it sounds like the guitar starts higher and higher and higher each time. It almost becomes a sort of helium-based parody of itself. And you go, where's it going to go from here?
You run out of room here now. You're going to just, I just remembered that I used to work with someone who always referred to Ian Callum as Ian McCallum, and I always used to go, it's not McCallum, it's just Callum. You're just putting the muck there because you know he's Scottish. But in terms of pairing people together, I don't know, I might go for two motoring ones. There's one that sort of already exists, as in they have a working relationship, but it could be pivoted into solving crimes, which is friend O the show, Dario Franchitti, and Gordon Murray. As a TV detective duo, Dario, he's the wheelman.
Yes.
He's a good-looking boy and he can drive. So he is like, he's your sort of, you got your man to get you in, sort something out, or get you out of trouble.
Yeah.
And he could always charm a pretty lady if he needed to in the course of solving the case.
Even outside a courtroom where he's just screeched up with his crossbars
just a cheeky wink across a courtroom, and the female barrister is distracted enough to forget what she was saying. But then you've got Murray, the brains of the operation, the thinker. He's got one of those walls with lots of things drawn and written on it, and he's figuring it out.
Lots of post-its.
Because he's the boffin back at base, they've got some kind of really cool car that they zoom about in to solve crimes. Dario drives it beautifully, but Gordon's always coming up with some upgrades to make it even more effective in the field of investigations.
Oh, this is good. I like this.
Franchitti and Murray. It doesn't trip off the tongue. That's my only worry.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think.
Gordon and the Wheelman.
Gordon and the Wheelman's pretty good, actually.
That's
Gordo and Wheelman.
Decided. Yeah. Gordo and Dario. Maybe, I don't know. We'll work this out.
I like that. I like that one. I'm trying to think of modern day Formula One type drivers, if one of their names could get stuck into there as well. Verstappen and Villeneuve sounds like a very kind of sensible solicitor firm, doesn't it? Verstappen, Villeneuve. I don't know. Nothing can beat Mansell McTaggart, to be honest, unless listeners are listening and going, I could do better than you two flutes.
But also, I feel like any Mansell and Taggart crime-fighting duo, they're both quite lugubrious. So it would be, that even by the standards of cop shows, it would be the most sort of downbeat, grey cop show you've ever seen.
Hugely. If it took place in a rainy town, I mean, no one would watch it. Because it wouldn't be sexy in any way.
No.
Unless you wanted the juxtaposition of Mansell McTaggart, but they're doing it in Barbados.
But they both still they're always wearing needlessly heavy jackets for some reason.
Yeah, and constantly taking them off because it's so bloody muggy.
But there's two people who just don't wear T-shirts ever.
Oh, no.
No, you're right. I think that Mansell and Taggart is still, it's quite a thing. But, well, obviously, if you know or think differently, then do get in touch, hello@smithandsniff.com. And the same applies if you have a question for us. Send it to that email address. Put Otosot at the start of your subject line. If it's a question, it helps us to find them. Anything else, just put a subject line, and we'll endeavour to read it out in 6 to 12 years, as is the Smith and Sniff guarantee.
Yeah, exactly all of that.
But for now, thank you for listening. We'll be back with a regular show on Monday. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, guys. Cheers.